Yeah, there are still plenty of battles ahead. Let's speak to Lieutenant General Stephen J. Townsend. He's the head of U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria. Lieutenant General, it's very good to talk to you. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, thanks. Actually, I'm the head of all coalition troops fighting in Iraq and Syria.
All coalition troops. Okay, well, let's get that right. Thank you very much for being with us. There is a long delay on the line. So you've won the war, but as we're just saying, securing the peace is going to be a much more difficult challenge.
Well, I think I'd take exception that we've won the war. First of all, I'd like to offer the coalition's congratulations to Iraqi Prime Minister Abadi and the Iraqi security forces on their historic victory in Mosul against an evil enemy, while also making some extraordinary efforts to safeguard civilian lives. And I'd say that the war is far from over. One major battle has concluded. There are a number of ISIS fighters still left in Iraq that'll have to be defeated before we've won the war.
Lots of little towns where you're going to have to fight between Mosul and Baghdad. But if and when the fighting is over, just talking about that peace, I read today there are 25 million Sunnis between Baghdad and Damascus whose governments have failed them. What do these governments have to do to make Sunnis feel part of the country that they live in?
Well, I think you've hit on the essential issue here, which is the cause of ISIS in the first place. The government of Iraq didn't make the Sunni people feel as if their government represented their interests, and so they fell prey to ISIS. And if we're to keep ISIS, the next ISIS, ISIS 2.0, from emerging, the Iraqi government is going to have to do something pretty significantly different. They're going to have to reach out, reconcile with the Sunni population, and make them feel like their government in Baghdad represents them.
General Townsend, it's Katty Kay here in Washington. You said today, make no mistake, this victory alone does not eliminate ISIS, and there is still a tough fight ahead. What have you learned from fighting, what have the coalition and the Iraqi forces learned from fighting ISIS in Mosul that will be useful in Raqqa?
Well, first of all, this is a brutal, evil enemy, a very determined one. And so one of the things I learned is this fight is going to take longer than we anticipate. Also, that fighting in cities, I already knew this as a professional soldier. I already knew how difficult it was to fight in major urban areas, but I never saw fighting on this extended duration and scale before. We're applying all those lessons to the fight that we're already engaged in the global capital of ISIS in Raqqa, Syria.
General, it was the American decision under Barack Obama to pull American forces out of Iraq that enabled ISIS to grow in the region in part and to spread so fast. Will American forces now keep a presence in Iraq for longer to stop ISIS 2.0 from re-emerging?
I think so. Those decisions have yet to be made by governments. However, there's an ongoing dialogue between the government of Iraq, the government of the United States, and the governments of other coalition member nations to have a continued coalition presence here after the defeat of ISIS. And I think that's exactly one of the things we need to do to keep this going down the right path in the future.
Okay, Lieutenant General Stephen Townsend, thank you very much for joining us.